This is an acute remedy. Even though remedy is acute, but it has got marked action on some of the vital organs of our body. It has got special affinity on eyes. It has got action on the heart. Various diseases of the eyes. Present generation, the world is going more of digitalizations. Everywhere digital classes. Everywhere using mobiles. People are using laptops. So much eye strains and various diseases of the eyes. Very simple disease like myopia. Especially the person who can see only the near objects, the far objects are blurred. So excellent remedy for the myopia. So this is not ruta, this is not euphrasia, this is not phosphorus. It's also important remedy for the people who are suffering from nystagmus. So this is not causticum, this is not gelsemium, this is not arnica, this is not lachesis. It's an excellent remedy for the people who are suffering from ataxia, or people who are suffering from tremors. Again, this is not our causticum, this is not our agaricus. There's a lot of flickering before the eyes or flashes of light before the eyes, so-called we call musca volitantis. Okay, something the black spots are there in the field of vision. This is not ruta, this is not euphrasia, this is not cyclamen. This is also important remedy for the people who are suffering from lockjaw. This is not again cicuta. The people are suffering from various muscular weakness. This is not gelsemium, this is not causticum. This is a remedy, belongs to the family called Leguminosae, a native of Africa. This drug is called Physostigma. Physostigma, commonly called it as Physostigma venenosum. Why it's called as an Physostigma venenosum, details of that we will see when we are going back to the histories of this plant. This is commonly called as Calabar bean, as this plant is found abundantly in the riverbeds of Calabar river, which is a river found in the Nigeria. This is highly poisonous plant. It is also called as commonly ordeal bean. Ordeal means a kind of judgment. Nowadays, if at all we have any problems, we can approach to the police station or you can go to the further High Court, Supreme Court. So we get a justice. In olden times, there is no such scenario like present days. So people used to decide the judgment by giving this particular seed, which is highly poisonous to the human beings. If at all a person who has done some kind of crime or guilty, as soon as he consumes this seed or bean, within 30 minutes he will collapse and die. The person who has not done anything crime or guilty, he will be saved by the God. That is the belief. That is the reason it is called as an ordeal bean. This is a drug belongs to the family called Leguminosae. We have got many drugs from this family. Very important drugs like Melillotus alba, Lathyrus sativa, Copaiva, Ashoka, Baptisia tinctora, Dolichos. There are many drugs. There are something which is very common runs among these drugs, a kind of neurological disorders which you see in Lathyrus, you see in Baptisia. So you even see in Physostigma. Regarding the habitat of this plant is a poisonous plant found in West Africa along the riverbeds of Calabar river. To prepare the medicine, the trituration of the whole bean has been taken to prepare the medicine. It has been proved by many doctors. The famous proving is by Christison in the year 1855, which has been taken for verification of the symptoms. Physostigma venenosum. The word physostigma, which is derived from the ancient Greek word phusa, pusa, which means a bladder or a pouch. Stigma for its beak-like appendage at the end of the stigma. You can see in this images where you can see a flower, a purplish colored flower, which has got a beak-like appearance of the stigma. So that is the reason it is called as a physostigma. Physo means a bladder-like, a pouch-like, which is supposed to be hollow, but it is a bit harder in texture. Because it has got a beak-like appearance of the stigma, that is the reason it is called as a physostigma. Physostigma venenosum. Venenosum means a creeper, a climber. That is the reason it is called venenosum. And it is highly poisonous also. Physostigma venenosum is a great, large, herbaceous, twinning climber variety of plant. This plant has a perennial life cycle and climbs over other trees with its woody stem and has got a pale pinkish or purplish flowers you can see in this image. The seed pods, which contains around 2 or 3 seeds within a bean. You have a bean in this. Inside the bean you have 2 or 3 seeds around the size of around 6 or 7 inches of the bean. The seeds are deep chocolate brown in color. It has got a typical kidney shaped bean and it is highly poisonous. Person who consumes within 30 minutes the person will die. In this image you can see 2 types of picture. One is drawings, as very difficult to get a real picture of physostigma. You can see leaves which looks like a beetle leaf, and it's a creeping plant, and it has got a beak-like appendage, a purplish colored flower which has got a beak-like appearance, a bladder-like appearance. That is the reason it's called physostigma. You can see a bean in this side. You can see that bean. In the bean there are around 2 to 3 seeds will be there, which is coffee brown in color. Sometimes the flowers are purplish in color, sometimes the flowers are pinkish in color, but highly poisonous. In this picture you can see a bean which is opened up, and inside the bean you got 3 seeds in each bean, which typically looks like a dark brown chocolate, very attractive look. How much ever it looks attractive, it is highly poisonous. A single seed is sufficient to kill a person within 30 minutes. That much severe poisonous effect this seed has got on human being. According to Brunton, one of the person who has done some studies about this seed, he says as soon as someone consumes this seed, the person will get a tetanus like symptoms, which is mainly because of the alkaloid which present inside the bean. There are many alkaloids, but 2 major alkaloids called Calabar and Eseramine, which is commonly called as a Physostigmine, which produces paralysis. The alkaloid Physostigmine acts like a nerve gas, which influences communication between the nerves and muscles, and resulting in copious salivations. Person will get tonic-clonic spasm. Person will lose the control over the bladder and bowels, and eventually he loses the control over the respiratory system, causing a death by asphyxiation. Calabar bean or else Physostigma, which contains several alkaloids. Some of the alkaloids like Physostigmine, which is otherwise called as Eseramine, which is the old terminology. Presently we call it as a Physostigmine. Even now, Physostigmine is used in the treatment of glaucoma. It is used as a eye drops. Several other alkaloids like Eseramine, Genicerine, Isophysostigmine, Physovinine, Norphysostigmine, Calabatine and Calabacine. These are the various alkaloids present in the Calabar bean. We will see some of the historical background of Physostigma or Calabar bean. Why it is called as a Physostigma, we already know, because of a beak-like appearance of the stigma of the flower, or bladder-like appearance of the stigma of the flower. That is the reason it is called as a Physostigma. Physo means a bladder. Physo means a pouch. Venenosum because it is a creeper variety of plant which requires some or the other kind of support to grow. And again it is highly poisonous. The people of old Calabar used Calabar bean as an ordeal poison. Ordeal poison means a judgment poison. And administered them the person who is accused of witchcraft or other crimes to bring the judgment from the god. It was considered to affect only the guilty. If a person accused of a crime ingested the bean without dying, they were considered as innocent. You see the history, they are so strange. They had the belief that the person who is innocent is been saved by the god. This is probably worked to a certain extent as the innocent people were more likely to consume the drink in one gulp and then vomit before too much of the toxin had been absorbed. Whereas the guilty person were more likely to take a sip by sip because they are sure that they are going to die. Because of sip by sip they are taking the poison and the toxic effect will be more and definitely they will die. And this is about the historical background of Physostigma. What are the uses of Physostigma? Physostigmine is isolated from the seeds and used as an eye drop to reduce the intraocular pressure of the eyeball, even now in the management of glaucoma. It is also prescribed for internal use in the treatment of neuromuscular diseases, especially a disease called myasthenia gravis, and also used for the treatment of post-operative constipation. It is also used in Alzheimer's disease. It is also used in the treatment conditions like tetanus, epilepsy, and rheumatism. These are the various other uses of Physostigma. Sphere of action of Physostigma. As we all know from the history, that is a highly poisonous remedy. It has got marked action on the central nervous system, a special action on the eyes. It also has got action on the heart, muscles, and jaw. By action of this drug on the heart, it stimulates the heart, it raises the blood pressure. On the eyes, it causes contraction of the pupil and also the contraction of the ciliary muscles, which induces a condition called short-sightedness. On the central nervous system, it has got action on the spinal cord, produces irritation of the spinal cord, loss of motility leading to prostration, leading to tremors, rigidity of the muscles, paralysis. It depresses the motor and reflex activities, produces total loss of pain, muscular weakness, followed by complete paralysis. It also produces irritation of the meninges with rigidity of the muscles, with a tendency for tetanus and trismus. This is how the pathophysiological action of Physostigma. Regarding the keynote indication or practical uses of Physostigma, it is an excellent remedy for the various diseases of the eyes. It is like a homeopathic ophthalmic remedy. There is no other remedy which has got better action than Physostigma in the diseases of the eyes. There is a pain after using ice, very commonly remedy like Ruta. More than that, there is a floating of black spots in the field of vision. So you can see in this image, so whenever you look at some object, you get a black spots in the field of vision. You are unable to see anything. Everything looks like black dots. There are several cases which comes to our clinic with this symptom. We have many drugs for such a floating black spot in the field of vision like Cocculus, Phosphorus, Sepia, Silesia, Sulfur. Even Cyclamen has got this symptom. Physostigma also has got another symptom other than the black spots in the field of vision. They have flashes of light before in the field of the eyes. Whenever they look something, they get a flashlight effect on their eyes. You can imagine how much difficulty the person will have this symptom. We have this symptoms, all this that floating of black spots is called as an muscae volitantis. So this is an excellent remedy for all such floating object in the field of vision, that is Physostigma. Second indication of Physostigma is there is a twitching of ocular muscles. Eye muscles are constantly twitching. Very commonly such patient will come to our clinic, the doctor, I have my eyes which are twitching. Very often the twitching may be as a symptoms of dehydration. A twitching may be because of hypoglycemia. A twitching may be because of overstraining. We have got many drugs for twitching of the ocular muscles like agaricus, which is mainly a neurological aspect in agaricus. There's a twitching of the lids, the twitching of muscles of the eyes. It is also indicated for nystagmus. We need to differentiate Ruta, you need to differentiate agaricus, you need to differentiate phosphorus, we need to differentiate gelsemium for twitching of the eye muscles. Physostigma is an excellent remedy in the management of myopia, so-called nearsightedness, which is a very common eye disease in which you can see the object near to you clearly, but object away from you looks very blurry. It occurs when the shape of your eye causes light rays to bend incorrectly, focusing the image in front of your retina instead of focusing your image onto the retina. So that is the reason why the person looks distant, object looks blur, near objects we can see, which is very common these days when the children are using lot of mobile phones, children are using lots of laptops and so much eye strains, and finally ending up in getting myopia. It is not just myopia or physostigma which is increasing myopia. Day by day the myopia is progressive. There are many drugs for myopia like argentum nitricum, calcarea carb, gelsemium, phosphorus, pulsatilla. Based on the other constitutional features, we can differentiate calcarea carb, gelsemium, phosphorus and pulsatilla. Physostigma is also used in the treatment of night blindness. We have a remedy called Bothropes, which is given for the day blindness, but Physostigma is a remedy for night blindness. There are many drugs for night blindness like China, Eseramine, Lycopodium, nitric acid, pulsatilla, stramonium, zinc metallicum, ranunculus bulbosa. Based on the other constitutional features, we can differentiate. Ranunculus bulbosa, night blindness may be after an herpes, more of neurological features, maybe because of a neuralgia. Zinc metallicum is again a night blindness because of neurological phenomena. Stramonium associated with fear, phobia. So this is how we can differentiate night blindness of ranunculus bulbosa, zincum, stramonium, pulsatilla, etc. Physostigma also used for the contraction of the pupils. The pupil looks contracted. You can see in this image the pupil is so much contracted. We have a remedy called aconite. We have euphrasia, gelsemium, opium, plumbum, pulsatilla. All these remedies also is given for contraction of the pupils. Another keynote indication of physostigma is uncommon mental activity. Person cannot stop thinking. So much overcrowded thoughts like our coffea cruda, like our cannabis indica, elated mood, so much activities in the mind. Remedies like phosphorus. Another remedy called cypripedium. So like that there are many drugs. Physostigma also one of the remedies where the overcrowded thoughts in a person who is unable to keep quiet mentally. It is also indicated in the management of locomotor ataxia, so-called tremors, so-called rigidity, which is commonly seen in some of the clinical conditions like cerebral palsy, or you can see motor neuron diseases, where the person will have a staggering gait, person is unsteady gait, there is a totally unsteadiness from the knee downwards, person is unable to walk, especially with eyes shut, person is unable to walk with eyes closed. We have a remedy called conium. So we need to differentiate conium and physostigma for this symptom. For the locomotor ataxia, we have many drugs like alumina, conium, gelsemium, naxomica, phosphorus, silesia. For the staggering gait, we have a remedy called alumina, gelsemium. Another indication of physostigma is in the management of tetanus, idiopathic or traumatic tetanus, which is brought on by slightest breath of air. Even the person passing nearby will aggravate the tetanus. We have remedies for tetanus, commonly used remedies hypericum after an injury, lysine, naxomica and strychnine. Some more keynote symptoms of physostigma. The person will have labored and sighing respiration. Person has to take a deep breath, as you see in ignatia, as you see in opium and phosphorus. Another characteristic symptoms of physostigma is irregular cardiac action, leading to palpitation. There is a pulsation throughout the whole body. There is a fluttering of the heart felt in the throat. It's a kind of a globus hysterical manifestation. The fluttering of the heart is felt in the throat, like our asafoetida, ignatia, lycopodium, nux moscata. Another keynote indication of physostigma is in the management of trismus or lockjaw. as you see in Cicuta, cuprometallicum, ignatia, naxomica and strychninem. Due to various causes, Cicuta is mainly because of epilepsy, cuprometallicum is again epilepsy, ignatium is more of hysterical reason and getting a lockjaw. Naxomic is again as a result of epilepsy. Strychninem is again as a result of epilepsy. Physostigma is also used in the management of tremors or trembling of young person from mental or physical disturbances. Nowadays, tremor is very common as a result of too much mobile phone using. For the tremors, we have got many drugs. We have remedies, calibromatum. We have remedy, zinc metallicum. We have got remedy, agaricus. So you need to differentiate based on the other constitutional features. Here, tremor is mainly because of physical causes or as a result of too much mental strain and leading to tremor. Physostigma is also used in the management of great weakness of the muscles. There is a marked tenderness of the spine. There is a total impaired coordinations. Suppose person wants to grasp something, he is unable to grasp. Suppose person wants to lift something, he is unable to lift. There is a poor coordinations. There is a total muscular weakness where you can think of this remedy. We will see in detail about physostigma eye complaints. Eyes are sore and painful when moved from side to side. There is a deep-seated pain over the top of the eyeball or between the eyes. There is a aching in the posterior part of the eyes which is extending backwards. There is a pain from the eyeball or a pain between the eyeball which is radiating backwards. If you look at the eyes looks as though person is having convulsions. There is a twitching of ocular muscles. There is a constant twitching of the eyeballs. There is a contracted sensation in the lids with difficulty to open the eyelids, like our causticum, like our colophyllum, like our sepia. There is a constant twitching of the ocular muscles. There is a contraction of eyelids and find difficult to open. There is a spasm of the ciliary muscles with irritability after using the eyes. Now you look at the vision. As we saw many symptoms in the keynote indication, there is a full of blurring of vision, hazy vision or misty vision. Object looks mixed up. There is a full of black spots floating in the field of vision. There is a flashes of light in the field of vision. Full of musca volitantis, what we can see most commonly. There is a night blindness. Person will have photophobia. The pupil is contracted. There is a profuse lacrimation. There is a dark light like a worms-like things or a snake-like things floating in the field of vision. There is a flashes of light in the field of vision, which is leading to a partial blindness for this person. It's an excellent remedy for increasing myopia. Person can see the vision, near objects are very clear, whereas distant object looks very blurred, which is very common these days. It is also used in the management of glaucoma, where there is increased intraocular pressure. It is also used in the post-diphtheritic paralysis of the eyes. These are the various indications of physostigma in the disease of the eyes. The close coming remedies are ruta. Ruta mainly eye complaint as a result of overstrain of the eyes. Ruta also after an injury to the eyes, with a rawness and sore feeling in the eyes, a bruised feeling in the eyes. All those symptoms are different. Whereas here in physostigma is more of neurological manifestations. regarding the etiology, element from mainly after emotion, element from grief, element from bathing in cold water, element from injuries, element from blows, generally aggravation by cold bath, aggravation by cold water, aggravation on waking up, better in the open air, better by closing the eyes, better by sleeping, better by warmth. These are the various modalities of physostigma.